Hello, this is Dre Hughes again. I'm going to ask a question tonight, and let's see if we can all be intellectually honest. This question is the one that I get asked all the time on YouTube. They say, Dre, that's great. Yes, you prove that. You've proved this one. You've proved that. You disprove that one. You disprove that. Yada, 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 yada. But where is the footage from above the freezer? And my question will be related to that. Okay, so let's get started on this. All right, so the person, that seems to always comment on YouTube about this. It's amazing, but they're just so relentless. So I'm going to make this video for them and all the other people that ask that same question over and over and over again. All right, here's a question for you in reverse. So here comes Kanika. She comes into the kitchen, and then she goes back there. And then there's no motion for 17 hours. See that? At 20:34, and then the motion before that's 3:30. That's 17 hours. Okay? There's no motion. And the only way to get back there, you would have to set off motion. That's it. Okay, the other day when I reversed the footage, they go, oh, did you see her pop out again? I go, no, that's me reversing it. Okay, you see what I'm doing here? I'm just going back and forth with the scrubber. Okay, so she goes back there, and there's no motion for 17 hours. And there's no motion for 8 days prior, apparently. Okay, so that's why I know that she went into the freezer, okay? Because that's what logic tells you. Okay, she went back there. There was no other motion for 17 hours. And the only way to get back here is by setting off motion sensors. That's it. There's no other options. Okay, so let me ask you this. Now, you got to use your imagination here. You want to have the footage above the freezer, or you will not believe this story happened. Now, watch this. Now, Kanika's already back there, right? Now let's pretend 30 seconds after Kanika went back there that this is another person right here. And they went back there. And you don't see him again, but you see a little shadow there, and you don't see him again. All right? And then let's even say, let's say 20 minutes later, you see him coming back out and going the other direction, Let's just pretend that. Would you require the same footage? Would you then say, show me the footage above that freezer, or I won't believe it, and sit there and defend the person that followed? And based on what you're saying, you would have to do that, right? But I don't think you would. If you were being reasonable, you wouldn't, and either would I. See, the thing is I would say, if I saw somebody going behind 30 seconds after Kanika went back there, I would use the same logic. I would say that, listen, she went back there, that person went back there too, and all of a sudden Kanika is dead back there. All right? I would think that would be very compelling, and I would really, I think the crime scene would look different, in that case, it would be a crime scene. I'm not sure what you call the scene when it isn't a crime, just like a death scene. But I think if you're being intellectually honest, you would say, oh, I would definitely assume that guy was following her to go in there. And now I'm asking you, why can't you do the same thing when it's Kanika? Why do you need that level of, footage? Why do you need to see her actually walk into that cooler door? I don't even think that's enough for some of you, because I think once you walked in the cooler, you then would realize, well, there's also a freezer door. And then you would say, well, I need to see footage of her walking through that freezer door too. Okay? And then that might not even be enough for some of you. You would say, I would need a footage of inside the freezer because I think there was somebody inside that freezer calling her name. Okay? That's what I think. Right? You see how ridiculous this all gets? It's absolutely clear that she walked back there and there's no motion for 17 hours. Now, is there footage missing? That's something I can't prove. I do not know. I know that all the footage I've seen, there's no editing of any video that I've seen. Is footage missing? I don't know. Okay? I do not know the answer to that question. So there's no motion for 17 hours. She goes back there, and I can assume with great confidence and all logic that she went back into the cooler and into the freezer. And see if you can answer that question and ask yourself, if this was another person right now following behind Kenneka, a minute behind, would you require that same footage to prove that that person went back there? And I would think you would say no. And I agree with that. All right? So there's a question for you, and until next time, I will talk to you later.